Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show where we watch old 16mm films and think about them. That last film, boy, they used the circle wipe at the end. I like that it's, circular because it's like tires, but, you know, they're like, just keep going. Circle transition, circle transition, circle transition. And regrettably, that film did not have a soundtrack, even though in the credits it credits narration. So I'm sure that the narration was awesome and that there was probably some super exciting music to accompany it. So one day, maybe we will find a sound version of that. This came from the Mogul Brothers collection and was reduced from 35mm, and maybe they just did a did a silent print of it because they thought that visually it was so interesting, because it is. All the manufacturing process is really phenomenal. Okay, so behind me I have a film scanner, and we have been building up reels of films, 4 or 5 at a time. The shorter films, so we get to, every 5 to 10 minutes we get a new film. Doing it this way helps because there's a tension issue that sometimes with smaller reels, and yeah. So what I've been doing is I look for a specific film, and then I look for films around it that we haven't seen that start with the same letter. So there's my scientific method of doing this, and scientific method might come up later. So anyways, we'll get started. This first film, I said yesterday there was a series called Get a Job. No, it's called See a Job. And it was made featuring African Americans, but it's general information. It's basically like, hey, you're graduating from high school, college, getting out of the military, like, how are you going to make money? Here's some options for you. And this one is a weird one, because this one is not like going to school to get training. This one is operating a franchise. So what do you think, which franchise do you think, would you guess, that is going to show up in this, that our hero or heroine is going to operate a franchise on? Let's find out. Franchise opportunity. Enjoy.
Good morning. This is Mr. Sam calling. I just heard a radio ad. I was 3 years out of high school and stuck dead in a job that was nowhere, and somebody said the word franchise. Own your own business. So where do you start? Well, first you got to figure out which are the good guys and which are the bad guys. Some franchise deals are honest and give you a good thing. Others are nowhere, so you go around and talk to these cats and see what they're offering. If you call any of the reputable companies, they'll arrange a meeting.
Gus Sam is young and looking to make it. He's heard a lot about franchises, and he's done some looking around. Since he got out of high school, he's wanted to have his own business. He has saved some money by planning carefully, and now he's ready to make a big decision. Major steps. Check out the companies and get the facts. Money. How much will it take? What about financing? There are many possibilities, and Gus Sam explores them with a representative of the franchise company.
Mr. Sam, we'd be willing to cooperate any way that we possibly can. That is what we're here for. This would be the first step for you to visit the Small Business Administration and see just what their requirements are. I do know that there are people that have been able to obtain loans through them, and we will work 100% with you and them in any way that we can do to help you along.
Now, once I've gotten the loan, if I'm lucky to get the loan,
At this meeting, many points are discussed, and Gus gets a good, clear picture of what this particular franchise company has to offer him.
The location is number one. The location is a very, very important thing. We have a survey department. We would go out and get the locations. Oftentimes, the individual may have their own location or know of a store, and you did express to me that you were mainly interested in the store-type operation.
exactly.
Any location that you had in mind, we certainly would survey it. We're interested in potential of business, what the area is, the foot traffic, and all.
Once the company has located a good potential location, they will show it to Gus for his approval, explaining its advantages and disadvantages.
Right down here, you have hundreds and hundreds of people living in these apartment houses here.
Right.
You have directly in front of your store, you have a bus stop. You have 5 or 6 different bus lines that stop right in front here. You have, as you can see, a subway stop where hundreds of people commute. In the evening hours, all these people are coming off. They're walking up off the subway. They're passing right by your store here, and they live right in this area here, and this is where your take-home item. Number 2 would be the closing of contracts and your training, and then getting the store ready to open for business.
I'd like to pinpoint that training area. You mean I will be under actual training conditions that I will find myself in at my own store?
Before you even report to your store, you learn the operation. You are in a store learning it from A to Z, how all the items are made, learning about the equipment. This is all very important.
Most franchises provide an intensive training program that fully prepares the individual for his new career.
We're going to turn the vanilla machine on the same way as we did the chocolate machine. Press the refrigerate heat button. Turn the flow on, right about here. Now we'll put the vanilla ice cream.
Start right here at this end.
Are there any questions that may have come up that perhaps weren't answered during the 2 weeks in the store training?
Well, there is one, I think.
Gus?
Accounting and bookkeeping procedures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to begin.
Okay, fine. Well, the accounting and bookkeeping procedures are something that we are going to cover in this week of training. That's an extremely important aspect of managing a business. Another very important aspect, which we'll get into in greater detail this week, is the advertising and promotion. You'll see here all of the new signs that we have, as well as the artificial cake display, which has been extremely successful in terms of generating sales. In addition to the 2 weeks of on-the-job training you had in the store and this 1 week of classroom training you'll be getting, we have additional training. Training in the form of when you go into your own store, we have a field supervisor who'll be working with you for a full week. You'll be getting very personalized support by one of our very well-experienced sales supervisors.
Gus, I got approval for us to start your store.
The store itself is usually designed by the franchise company and submitted for approval.
And I want to explain to you what's going to be done. We're going to put ceramic tile on the walls, and as soon as we get all the rough work done, then we'll call for our equipment, and then we'll tie in the equipment to the rough plumbing and electric. And 2 days hence you'll be in business.
Well, how do you like it, Gus?
I think it's great, Bill.
All ready to open up, huh?
I'm excited about it.
Okay, now today we're going
For a short time after the store is open, a company representative helps with the operation and sees that everything is running smoothly.
Okay?
How am I doing?
Very well, very well. Okay, now you're top. That's it. Good.
Huh?
I'm going to have the time to know.
Oh, how are you? Fine. Thank you very much. Right. How are you? Thanks a lot. Right.
From here on in, I'll stop back within the next week or 10 days, and from that point on, I will be here once every 2 to 3 weeks. Now, if you come into an emergency, I want you to get on the phone, call the main office. They'll locate me, and I'm as close to you as your nearest phone.
Do you like the spumoni's? Anything else, sir? Okay. 55. 25.
Bill doing?
Bill, this is Gus Sam down at store 862.
Yeah, Gus.
Bill, I'm having somewhat of a problem down here with the ice cream. It's coming out somewhat soft. Do you think you can get down here as soon as possible?
Right away?
I certainly do.
Okay, I'll be down in about 15 minutes.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bill.
Now, if the barrel temperature is too high, it's not going to freeze the product, so you're not going to be getting ice cream out of there. You're going to be getting soup.
I see.
So what we have to do is adjust either one of these two. Now, your Ranco looks all right, and it may be the adjustment on the White Rogers.
I see.
So let's try that and see what happens.
Okay. It's pretty good. A lot of hard work to get here, but if you're tied up with a good company and you're willing to put something into it, like, well, man, it's got those dead-end jobs beat solid. After all, it's mine, and I don't think you can beat that. Those cones are 25 cents a piece. Those are cherry bunnies. Thank you. 4 pop things. 4 pop black and white. 25 cents a piece. You can get 5 for $1. Okay. Thank you.
For Gus Sam, this franchise gives him a chance to make it. He took a long, hard look at a lot of different types of businesses. He took his training seriously, and he put in a lot of plain, old-fashioned hard work. For Gus, it is more than a place of business. It is a place of his own.
What they don't say is the fact that he had to have pretty amazing credit to get a loan to do this, or for the franchise to even approach them. And I think most people that would be watching this series, they're just starting out. They don't have any anything. And I could talk about franchises, McDonald's, the McFlurry machine, insanity that's going on. But here's another film. Soon.
It's great being outdoors, having a good time. But good times can turn into not so good times if you're not careful. It's easier to prevent accidents, but they do happen. Accidents can be scary when you don't know what to do about them. Even if something happens to you when you're alone or with a friend, there are things you can do to help yourself. In this film, you're going to find out what to do if you get hurt. That's what this is all about. It isn't as bad as it looks or feels. Some of his skin rubbed off when he took that flop. Fortunately, he knows what to do. The best way to clean this or any other wound is with plain soap and water. Nothing else. Pat it dry with something you know is clean. If you don't have a clean towel or cloth, let it dry in the air. Go to someone who can help, a responsible adult, and let that person help you. Cover the skinned area with a clean bandage. It's as simple as that. It will still hurt for a while, but now he can go back and play some more. Only this time, he'll be more careful. A cut can be pretty frightening. In this case, it's a paper cut. You could also cut yourself with a sharp object. Would you know what to do? Or would you just be scared? Well, Laura knows how to help herself. The best way to stop bleeding is by direct pressure, pressing right on the cut. She's doing it with her finger. If she had a clean napkin or towel, she could use that too. She goes to the nearest source of water and washes the cut. If there's no soap around, plain water is okay. It looks like it's bleeding a lot, but it isn't. So there's no need to be frightened. Laura raises her hand to help slow the flow of blood. In just a few minutes, the bleeding should stop. In this or any other accident or injury, make sure you tell someone who can help you. Even though it isn't bleeding anymore, a light bandage will protect it until the cut heals properly. A bump on the nose really smarts. And sometimes it can make you bleed. What would you do if you had a bloody nose? First, sit down. Pinch your nose with your fingers. Lower your head and lean forward. In just a few minutes, the bleeding will stop. If you're at home, put some ice wrapped in cloth on the bridge of your nose. That also helps. Always tell your father, mother, teacher, or some other adult what happened. Ever get a black eye? The expression black eye doesn't mean your eye's been hurt. Instead, it's a bump near your eye. If this happened to you, what would you do? Her coach knows what to do. And if you're ever by yourself or with a friend, you can do the same thing. Place something cold over the part of the face you hurt. A clean cloth soaked in cold water is fine. Sure, you'll have a black eye for a little while, but it'll go away. If you get hit near or on your eye, make sure you get to a doctor as soon as possible so it can be examined. Now and then, nearly everyone gets a blister on a hand or foot. Sometimes they're from shoes that are too tight or too loose. They can come from walking barefoot. If you got a blister, what would you do? The one thing you should never do is pick at it. If the blister hasn't broken, get a bandage and cover it. That will help protect it and prevent it from getting worse. Of course, blisters do break. He got a blister from the baseball bat, and the blister broke. A broken blister should be treated just like a cut. Wash the broken blister with soap and water. You don't need anything else. Make sure it's covered with a bandage to prevent it from getting worse. A bee sting. Ouch! Does it hurt? If this happened to you, what would you do? This girl knows that even though the bee sting hurts a lot, she doesn't have too much to worry about. She puts cold water on the spot where the stinger went in. This helps the pain go away. In the case of a bee sting, tell your mother, father, or a responsible grown-up right away and have the stinger removed. Whoever does it should be careful to take out the whole thing. Suppose you were all alone. You could do the same thing. Bathe the spot that's stung in cold water. The only thing you shouldn't do is try to remove the stinger by yourself. Get an adult to help you. Remember, if you're stung or bitten by any kind of bug, tell an adult right away. This has been a pretty busy film, hasn't it? Of course, these things aren't going to happen in one day, but each of them can happen, and they can happen to you. And as long as you know what to do, you can see there's nothing to be frightened about. You should always know where your parents, a relative, friend, or neighbor can be reached in case of an emergency, and they should always know where you're playing. If you don't know your doctor's phone number, you can always dial O for operator and get help. You should know who is taking care of you and where that person is, whether at school, in the park, or at home. If you do hurt yourself, the best way to clean up is with plain soap and water. You don't need anything else. Most important of all, don't keep your accident or injury a secret. Immediately tell your mother, father, teacher, babysitter, or whoever is supposed to be looking out for you. They'll know what to do. Everyone likes to have a good time. If you know how to take care of yourself, you'll be prepared, not only for yourself, but for your friends.
So I'm sure that this film is not going to be on the streaming service Paramount Plus. And that's the thing about some of these educational films, is that they were made by big media companies like Disney, like CBS, like Universal. And they may or may not even acknowledge or know that they have this intellectual property, and it's just sitting there somewhere. And so, trying to get permission for it, legitimately getting permission for it, is difficult, because you contact somebody and they're like, well, we only handle feature films and television. Like, this educational stuff, I don't even know. So it's difficult. So this next film it's called Female Cycle. So I might have to, I don't know how this is going to play out. So here we go.
The Female Cycle. Produced by the Institut für Film und Bild, Munich. These organs are located and protected in the lower abdomen and in the lower part of the pelvis. Here they are supported and held together by an exceptionally elastic apparatus. The uterus, a small and highly muscular organ which houses the newly formed being as it develops during pregnancy, is capable of tremendous expansion. The inside lining of the uterus is a layer of mucous membrane. Connected to the cavity of the uterus on both sides are the two fallopian tubes, muscular tubes that lead to the ovaries. From puberty onwards, the ovaries, which are in fact the female sex glands, produce typically female hormones, and the ova required for reproduction. Only 1 in 1,000 cells develops into an oocyte, which is surrounded by follicular cells. The influence of the follicular hormone is felt throughout the blood circulation of the female organism. In particular, it stimulates the growth of the membrane of the uterus. The follicle grows to approximately the size of a cherry and may cause a bulge in the surface of the ovary. The opening at the end of the fallopian tubes covers the ovaries. The ovum separates when the follicle bursts. The ovum is carried into the fallopian tube by the flow of the liquid. Muscular movements of the tube and gentle contractions encourage the movement toward the uterus. The empty follicle bed is now transformed into the corpus luteum and secretes a new hormone, corpus luteum secretion, or progesterone. Under the influence of progesterone, the uterus is transformed. It relaxes considerably, becomes more richer in nourishment. A fertilized ovum would now find favorable conditions for adhesion and growth. After traveling through the fallopian tubes for about 4 days, the ovum reaches the cavity of the uterus. If no fertilization has occurred, it cannot adhere, and the corpus luteum ceases production of its hormone. The vascular inner wall of the uterus cannot be maintained without the hormone. It disintegrates and is discharged. Muscular movements of the uterus ensure that discharge takes the form of menstruation. In a mature woman, aged approximately 14 to 45, menstruation occurs regularly, usually within a 28-day cycle. Variations from 21 to 32 days are not uncommon. Menstruation usually lasts about 4 days. Then the hormone of the newly formed oocyte helps the wall of the uterus to form anew. The follicle bursts on or about the 14th day of the cycle. The ovum travels through the fallopian tube. The follicular bed turns into a corpus luteum. The corpus luteum again creates conditions favorable for the ovum to become embedded in the wall of the uterus. When hormone production ceases, as a result of the breakdown of the wall of the uterus, the menstrual period begins.
Okay, sure. Wow, that was something. Okay, this next film, and it was distributed by National Film Board of Canada, so I was ready for the hammer to come down because we were having some issues with NFBC. But yeah, that was interesting. All right. Oh, and it looks like we just lost tension on this last film. Let me set it up real quick. So you can see, well, you can't see. So let me bring it down. Yeah, that's not going to work. Anyways, maybe they'll make a mobile webcam that I can just pick up and just kind of move around. If anybody knows of such a thing, let me know. And I'm not going to use my cell phone to do it. So, all right. So this last film, we'll get it started. Started. Come on. What's going on? Alright, it's being annoying. I mentioned me figuring out the scientific method. This film is related to that. Enjoy.
This house is falling apart all the time. We just fixed this a month ago. There must be some way to fix that bathroom wall.
But I just did fix it last month. If that patching plaster won't stick with all that water splashing on it, we're just gonna have to stop using the shower.
Hey, no! That's unreasonable. We can't have the plaster falling down all the time.
All right, then I'll fix it. I'll fix it so it'll stay fixed.
Well, I'd be very glad if you would, Skip. But we can't go to any great expense. I priced tile the last time the plaster came down. That's out.
All right, I'll still do it, but I'll do it scientifically. I'll experiment and find the right way.
Well, there's a person with a problem to solve. And here's a method of obtaining the valid knowledge to solve it.
The scientific method. Define the problem, collect information, form a trial answer, test the answer, revise the answer, and test again.
Now let's see what we can learn about the scientific method and how to apply it.
Say, Mr. Hunt, does that scientific method really work?
Does it work? Why, of course it works. Why, Skip, what we call the scientific method is simply a description of how competent research scientists approach their problems. It's a description of the basic steps they use. Of course it works.
Well, I mean, could I solve a problem using that method?
Why don't you try the scientific method and see?
Well, sure. Oh, hello, Mom.
Hi, dear.
Here, I'll take those.
Thank you. How's the bathroom coming?
Swell, I'm working on it right now.
You are?
Sure, I'm doing it scientifically. You see, the first thing to do is to define the problem. Well, that's easy. The problem is to find out how to patch the bathroom wall. The next thing to do is to collect information.
Well, surely you know how to patch the wall. Dad patched it before.
Yeah, but, the problem is to find out how to fix the wall so it'll stay fixed without spending too much money. The next thing to do is to collect information. I wonder. See you later, Mom.
Okay.
Or, hey, why don't you try aluminum paint? It'll keep the plaster dry and the water out.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Well, tile is the only thing. Oh, you can try some cheap substitute.
You just didn't use the right kind of patching plaster. Now, here's a plaster that will really stick. Just mix it up with...
Well, you did get some information, didn't you?
I'll say. Anyway, I got a lot of opinions. I wish I could have gotten some better information somewhere. Well, let's see. Next step in the scientific method. Form a trial answer.
That's what we used to call the hypothesis, isn't it?
That's right, a hypothesis. A trial answer. Well, tile's too expensive, so that's out. And this patching plaster, well, what's so special about it? Looks like the same stuff we used last time. That sure didn't work. Aluminum paint. Supposed to be waterproof. Say, we've got some aluminum paint in the basement. Won't cost me a cent. Wait a minute. Problem? To fix the wall so it'll stay fixed. Trial answer? Aluminum paint to keep the water out of the plaster. Next step? Test the answer. Test the answer. Well, let's see. I'll need some blocks of plaster to test my patches on. Now, you've had time to dry. You are dry. You're just like the old plaster on the bathroom wall. Now to fill in with patching plaster. Jimmy crack corn, I don't care. Jimmy crack corn, I don't care.
Well, I don't see anything very scientific about all this. They both look the same to me.
Well, they are the same, so far. You see, I've put patches on both these squares of plaster. And now they're dry. Well, this one I'm going to leave the way it is. And this one, I'm going to cover with the aluminum paint to keep the water out.
Hot water.
Oh, you'll see. Now run along and play.
I still don't think it's very scientific.
Well, what do you think of Skip's trial answer? What do you think of his method for testing his answer? Of the way he collected information? Of his definition of the problem? Let's see how all this turns out.
Skip! This stuff has been here for 3 days.
Yeah, I know, Dad. I know. Well, look, I really want to test this aluminum paint to see if it'll keep the water out so the new plaster can stick to the old.
Well, you can't keep your mother's laundry tubs tied up forever. Come on over and we'll see what's happened.
Here, I'll do it. Now, this is the piece of plaster I patched and put into water just as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Look, the patch came out.
Oh, and that's what you figured happened in the bathroom. The water soaked in and my patch fell out, huh?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the one I coated with aluminum paint to keep the water out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see this one.
What does that prove, Skip?
Well, I guess it proves that just keeping the water out isn't the whole story.
Yeah, well, all I know is that the original plaster lasted for years. And then when I put that last patch in, out it came.
Original plaster. Maybe. Thanks a lot, Dad.
Wait a minute, and I'll show you something, son. Now, you can't expect to take new plaster and slap it on over old plaster and expect it to hold because it isn't likely to. Because plaster has to have something that it can hang on to, you see? Now, when you're going to patch a hole, what you want to do is to get well back in under the edges of the hole like that, so that the plaster will get in there and get a grip on something, just the same as a dentist drills a hole when he's going to fill a tooth. Then you want to be sure that you get the plaster well in behind the lath, you see, so that it can have something to hang on to grip. Otherwise, your patch is just going to drop out.
Glad I know. Thanks.
Hey, you're welcome.
So that's what he was talking about. Cut back the old plaster this way so the new plaster can get in under and hang on.
Skip, is this some more of your scientific method?
Hey, don't touch that. It isn't dry yet.
What is it?
Well, you see, my first test showed that my first trial answer wouldn't work. Just keeping the water out wasn't enough to make the new plaster stick to the old.
So now you've got a new trial answer and you're going to test it.
Well, you're catching on. See, I've made sort of a sample of the bathroom wall. With the laths, the old plaster, and the hole where the plaster fell out. As soon as it dries, I'm going to cut back the edges and clean out the old plaster between the laths. Then I'll put in my new plaster, working it under the edges of the old plaster and back between the laths. Finally, I'll paint it, and it ought to work swell. Well, now let's see if it'll really work.
While Skip waits for results on this experiment, let's think back over the steps of his method. The scientific method. A procedure for problem solving. How well did Skip define his problem? Did he include all the significant factors? Was he careful in collecting information? Did he check his authorities? What did you think of his trial answers? Did he examine all the evidence before forming a hypothesis? How scientific were Skip's methods of testing his answers? Did he use adequate controls? Revise the answer and test again. What do you think of Skip's second trial answer?
Well, it looks all right.
Well, looks don't tell everything. We've got to make sure this new plaster will really stick in there. Well, what do you know?
You mean it works?
Well, can't you see? Of course it... I don't mean to say it'll last
Skip feels that he has found a satisfactory solution to his problem. Whether it's the best solution or not, at any rate, he's better off for having used the scientific method. Don't you think so?
Oh, Jimmy cracked corn, I don't care. The master's gone away. Da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee.
Yeah, so I'll add this to the list of films that have a main character whose name is Skip. There's Skipper Learns a Lesson, which is about a bigoted dog. There's Skippy and the Three R's, about Skippy going to kindergarten. I think Toy Telephone Truck features a Skip. What Now, Skipper? I don't know. Does that count? And then, of course, this. Using the scientific method. I do use the scientific method all the time. Mostly to debug the insanity that I have created here at AV Geeks with equipment, technology that spans more than 100 years. So, yes, it is something I use. Although I do not keep saying Jimmy Crackcorn and I don't care, Jimmy Crackcorn and I don't care. That's what a weird thing to put in there. Anyways, I have the film set up back here. I think it's going to work. This is From Flax to Linen. Enjoy. So, what else I got? Let's learn about safety on the sidewalk and the street. Enjoy.
I wonder what the kids are like around here.
I bet they're just like the kids in the old neighborhood.
Now be careful on your way to school, though. You're not used to these streets, and there's a lot of traffic on some of them. Let's take another look at this map we drew. I want to make sure you know the safest way to get there.
This is our block.
It's a long block, all right. There's no intersection until you turn onto Main here at the alley.
This is it, right here.
Watch that alley. I've seen a lot of trucks go through there.
I will. Here's the street with the signals. Look, it's red.
You know what to do there.
Sure, Dad. Wait till it's green, and then look left, right, left again.
Stand on the curb while you wait, though. Oh, and watch out for cars turning right when the light's red. Drivers are allowed to do that in this state, and that's something new for you.
Okay. Here's the crosswalk. I know what to do there, too.
Good. Always use crosswalks. But remember to look first to be sure the car's going to stop before you leave the curb. The best way to tell is to watch the wheels.
I know. The teacher told us about that last year. The crossing guard is here, and there's the school.
Mm-hmm. Looks good. I've got some advice, though. When we walk on the streets, we have to assume responsibilities, just like when we drive. Use your own eyes and ears. Don't count on a driver or anybody else to look or listen for you. Okay?
Okay.
Hey, it's that time.
Better get going. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That was good advice Jimmy got. Let's see if he follows it, shall we? In a moment, we're going to have to make some choices about crossing the street.
Hey! How'd you go?
Jimmy's friend wants to cross the street here between a line of parked cars. How should he do it? First, he makes sure that no one is in the two parked cars where he's going to cross. If either car should move, he could be crushed. Then he moves to the outer edge of the car fenders and stops. He looks left, right, then left again before crossing the street.
Hey, my name is Mike. Mine's Jimmy. Hey, we're going across the street.
But suppose there's only one car parked on the street. Should he cross in front of it or behind it? Which would you choose? Did you choose to go in front of the car? Okay, Let's see what happens. Let's put ourselves in the driver's seat of an approaching car and see how it looks from there. We can't see Jimmy's friend behind the parked car, and he can't see us. Obviously, crossing in front of the parked car was not the right choice, was it? But a lot of people make this bad mistake. Now let's watch Jimmy cross the street the correct way. He goes to the back of the parked car and stops on the curb. The driver of the approaching car can see Jimmy clearly, and Jimmy can see the car coming. Then he moves to the outer edge of the car and looks both ways to make sure the street is safe. Then he crosses quickly. He doesn't run, and he doesn't stop to play around in the street. Will Jimmy remember what his mother said about crossing the alley? He hears a truck coming and remembers, and it's a good thing he did. Not all drivers stop before coming out of an alley as they're supposed to. This means there's a traffic signal ahead. This is the usual signal, the kind on Jimmy's street. Yellow means wait, red means no, green means to cross if it's safe. Now, Jimmy and his friend are going to cross a street at a traffic light. They're going to make some mistakes. See if you can tell what they do wrong. Did you see the mistakes? Let's look at that again. They were playing instead of watching the traffic. What if those cars didn't stop? Another dangerous mistake. They ran across the street instead of walking. So let's go back and do it right. Stand back on the curb, look left, right, left. Watch the wheels to make sure the car is stopped. It's safe. Cross quickly, but don't run. Different places have different kinds of signals. Some have pedestrian signals that tell us what to do. Sometimes there are buttons to push to make the signal change to walk, like this. You have to wait a bit. This means to walk if it's safe, but remember to look for approaching vehicles. It's especially important to look left, right, and left again. What does this mean? Do you stop right there? Do you go back? No. Finish crossing the street if you've already started. But Jimmy shouldn't leave the curb to begin crossing. There isn't enough time. Don't walk means do not leave the curb. These signals are for our protection, and it's smart to do what they say. This is to tell drivers that a school is near here and to watch for children. This means a crosswalk is ahead where children cross the street. But sometimes drivers don't notice the signs.
Use your own eyes and ears. Don't count on a driver or anybody else to look or listen for you.
From here, we can see the motorcycle coming, but Jimmy and his friend can't.
Hey, wait!
Luckily, Jimmy had been listening and heard the motorcycle coming in time to stop his friend. Here's how it looks from the motorcycle. The motorcycle should stop when the car stops, especially at a crosswalk. But motorcyclists make mistakes too, and Jimmy's friend should have stopped and looked to be sure. When we walk on the streets, we have to assume responsibilities too. Some busy highways have overpasses high over the street so people can cross safely. Or underpasses under the street, like this one. But some places don't even have sidewalks. If you have no sidewalk to walk on, do this. Walk single file on the left side of the road facing traffic. You can see what's coming and get out of the way if you have to. In places where there is plenty of room like this outside of the city, it's all right to walk in a group as long as you stay well off the main roadway and face traffic. The more distance between you and the cars, the safer you are. Walking on the roadway at night can be very dangerous. Avoid it if you can. It's very hard for drivers to see you, so wear light-colored clothes with reflecting tape that shines in the headlights. And carry a flashlight if you have one. Use tape on your right arm and leg and across the shoulder like this. Just as there are special safety rules for walking on the road at night, there are also things to remember about walking in the rain and snow. Not everybody uses an umbrella, but if you do, don't let it block your view. Sometimes cars back out all of a sudden. Watch for backup lights, exhaust, brake lights. You have to watch. She gets the umbrella out of the way so she can see. All's clear. Wet streets can be slippery. It's a good thing no cars are coming. Cars can't stop as quickly as usual when the streets are slippery. Walk slowly and very carefully when streets and sidewalks are slick. If a car has to stop suddenly on a slippery street, the car may skid and go out of control. This can be an especially dangerous situation. Always pay attention. Look left, right, and left again, then cross quickly. Now let's get back to Jimmy and his friend on their way to school. Crossing guards are specially trained. They know how to keep you safe where traffic is especially heavy. So stay inside the crosswalk and do as they say, but use your own eyes, too. A wrong move. Another car might come along and hit that open door, and her too. This is the wrong way. Let's do it right, like this, on the curb side. Good for you, Jimmy. Cross at the crosswalk, right? It looks like it's going to be a good day for Jimmy. He's made some new friends already, and he got to school safely. That's the right way to start any day.
And they fall into proper places easily. Finer linen is made by this method. The next operation is weaving, most of which is done by machines. But some is still done on hand-operated looms. In weaving, the threads which run up and down the loom represent the warp, while the cross threads are called the weft. Weaving is done by the shuttle, which carries the weft, passing over and under the warp threads. By changing the number of threads passed over or under by the shuttle, different kinds of linen are produced, such as plain cloth, twilled cloth, or linen drill. Most of the table linen used is damask, which has a woven ornamental design and contrasting weave. Talented artists are employed to execute the intricate designs. This machine is used to punch out the designs on cards, making a pattern. This pattern is followed by the loom as the cards are passed into it. The finished ornament looks the same on the damask as it did on the design created by the artist. When the woven fabric is taken from the loom, it is ready for bleaching or whitening. Pieces of linen are pieced together end to end. In one piece, many thousands of yards in length. It is put through many washes and boilings. And then it's spread on the grass for some days. The process continues until a certain stage of whiteness is reached, and is then washed, starched, and pressed, then beaten for hours to give it a glossy look, and pressed out again. Finally, it has become linen. a fabric whose history goes back at least 4,000 years. A beautiful, durable fabric whose popularity has increased with the years.
I tried to get the from Flax to linen to load, and it was a lot of back and forth, like advance the film manually a little bit, try to get tension, advance film manually. I eventually got it working, but then, yeah. So you got the best part of it, I guess. I mean, it's a very niche film, only for those that are really interested in how linen is produced. I will actually post this, a cleaned up, color-corrected version of this on the YouTube channel. And that's what we're doing now, is we're actually putting a lot of stuff on the YouTube channel. So some stuff that you've seen here, some stuff you haven't seen yet, stuff from our collection, stuff from Oregon Archive, stuff from Craig Baldwin, variety of different places. YouTube is a great way, as you know, to see what we got. It's also a great way, because there's advertising on that stuff, we get some revenue from that, and that helps pay the bills. Likewise, when you hit the thumbs up or the like button, those are also ways that kind of tells the algorithm, like, oh, hey, I should suggest this channel to other people, because there's some people that really want to know about the female cycle, the scientific method, spinning linen, etc. So hitting the thumbs up, the like, the subscribe, those are all great things. You can also hit the super thanks button and donate to us. That's another way that we take that money directly and buy supplies and coffee. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and patreon.com/avgeeks. These are all ways that you can support us. But just being there and commenting and telling your friends and family, those are other ways that you support us, and we appreciate that. We definitely enjoy showing these films to you every day. Blah-de-blah. So, everybody have a great rest of your, what is it, Tuesday? And we'll see you tomorrow. Everybody take care. Bye.